Hi, this is Steve. Welcome back to Scale Model Kit Review Studio, and welcome back to another installment of the Agora Models LaFerrari. Let's get started. Welcome back, my friends, to Scale Model Kit Review Studio. This is Steve. Welcome back to another exciting installment of the Agora Models Build the LaFerrari. I am currently working on pack number 4 in this video. Remember, this is the 1/8 scale Ferrari, and fantastic here. It has lots of options. It has electronic opening doors, has the lights that work, engine sound, fully detailed engine and transmission and interior. Makes for a fantastic build. You can head over to Agora Models and choose the subscription that best fits your budget, and they will work with you and ensure that you get all the parts when necessary. So like I said, I am currently working on pack number 4. Pack number 4 includes stages 25 through 32. This is engine intensive here. We're going to be working a lot on the engine and transmission itself. For stage 25, we have parts for the alternator. Stage 26, the starter motor. Stage 27, powerful engine. Stage 28, the potentiometers. Stage 29, generator pulley. Stage 30, the racing gearbox and clutch. Stage 31, the engine support arms. And stage 32, of course, the transmission. So without further ado, let's get started on stage 25. Alright, for stage 25, it says we'll be working on the alternator. And here's those parts. Let's get a closer look. Here's a close-up of those parts. We did receive the cylinder block, and that's this right here. I love the finish on it. It's very rough, like a cast aluminum finish. 2 parts for the alternator and the rear window. Very nice there. I'll make sure I clean it off real good before I mount it. Alright, so I brought over my interior tub, and we're going to mount the rear windshield on first. There's 2 mounting holes that the windshield goes to. I cleaned off my windshield first, and they're just going to press fit in place on each end. There we go. That's how that looks there. And that completes stage 25. Let's get started on stage 26. Here's the parts for stage 26. Let's get a closer look. Here's a close-up of the parts for stage 26, the starter motor. And in this case, the parts we received is the motor base itself, the recovery pump, and the starter motor, and 2 B-type screws. The screws are all in a bag from the initial pack, which makes it nice. Now the motor base itself is metal casted, very highly detailed, very nice, very cool. I love the finish on it. Recovery pump is also metal casted, I believe. It doesn't, no, it's plastic. It feels like metal, but it's plastic. I can see the ejector pin marks for that. And the starter itself is also plastic. Very nice. I'm going to go ahead and install the alternator onto the engine base itself. And the screwdrivers I'm going to use are either going to be the PHO or the PHOO screwdrivers for this. And the larger PH1 screwdriver, which I'm going to use in this case right now. B-type screw is fairly big. So we're going to line up our alternator. It has an alignment tab that lines up to a little hole there right beside it. and put my B-type screw into that. It goes into plastic. We don't need to worry about oil or anything like that. There we go. Make sure the tab is still engaged. The screw is in. That looks good there. Now the motor base itself is going to snap down on top of that. It looks like it just press fits in place. Perfect. Snapped right in. Looks good. Next, they're going to mount the driver's seat to the interior tub. Alright, I brought over the interior tub. We're going to install the driver's seat here first, and you can see there's a tab on the top that mounts on the top of the tub, and of course another tab on the bottom that lines up with that. And then we'll go ahead and line up the top first and drop this down just like that. We're going to put our B-type screw into that from underneath. And the driver's seat is installed. I got the top tab inserted and the B-type screw installed on the bottom. And that's all I do for stage 26. Let's go ahead and get started on stage 27. Next we'll work on stage 27. This is the powerful engine. Let's get a closer look at the parts. And here you go. This is the engine block half right here. Very nice. Very heavy cast metal part. And we have the oil filter made of plastic. Alright, so we'll grab our part that we just received in this stage, which is the engine half there. And we're going to install the recovery pump. It's plastic. It has two tabs here and two more on the end, and they're going to press fit on the side here. This recovery pump is actually your oil recovery, right? This is a dry sump engine. So we're just going to press fit everything into place. And I don't think we'll need to use any super glue or anything like that. And just to make sure everything is put together. It looks great. Everything's press fit. No glue required. Looks good. Next we'll go ahead and install the starter, and that goes on the other side here. You can see the mount for that. That would engage on the flywheel for the engine, and it just press fits in one way. There we go. Got to kind of force it in. And here we go. Perfect. Kind of wiggle it back and forth and it goes in. So that looks good there. Next, the cap for the oil filter goes in right there. Press fit once again. Perfect. And that completes stage 27. Let's get started on stage 28. Here's the parts for stage 28, which is the potentiometers. Let's get a closer look. Here's a close-up of the parts. This would be the right cylinder bank itself, made of metal, very nice. And then the two potentiometers. And what these potentiometers are is they are actuators, electronic actuators that move the length of the intake trumpets or the velocity stacks, depending on your engine and throttle settings for power or less power, and basically controlling the airflow through those trumpets. Right, the velocity stack or trumpets create a vortex or venturi effect, where your flow, you get where you have low pressure coming in, high pressure on the narrow part of the trumpet, back to low pressure. So it's all science. It's pretty cool. All right, let's move on. And we'll also need two G-type screws. All right, so I retrieved the top of the engine. That's this right here. the main engine block. Has the alternator on it that we installed. And then the bottom of the engine that has our starter, an oil filter, and our replenishing or retrieve pump. And these are going to go together just like that. Okay. And they will get screwed together with 2 G-type screws. I'm going to put some oil on them to help get them started. It's good there. I am using my PH1 screwdriver, the larger one. And there we go. Nice and tight. Both screws are in. Looks great. Okay, so I brought over the cylinder block. And that's this right here. We're going to put our potentiometers on each side. Both potentiometers are exactly the same. So they're going to mount to these small holes. There's 2 there and 2 there. And just want to line them up. Just like that. And press fit. Okay. Actually, there's a lot of stuff that happens here. Okay. And I think I'm going to make that a little bit larger, that hole, with an X-Acto blade. And then we'll line it up. First one on the end there, and press that all in place. Perfect. We'll do the same on the other side, and it's just going to help it out a little bit, help everything line up. And if you make the hole too large, you could use some CA glue or super glue to lock it in better, but it doesn't need much. And then line up the large pin, and then the small pins will fall in place. Perfect. There we go. Both potentiometers are installed. Now we're going to join the cylinder block here that we just put the potentiometers on to the cylinder head. And if you notice, we have these tabs here that are sticking out. They're going to line up with these 3 inserts. So it's just going to press fit in, snap in place, just like that. Actually, there's no snapping. They just slide in. Okay. And that's pretty much it for that. So that completes stage 28. Let's get started on stage 29. Here's parts for stage 29. This would be the generator pulley. Let's get a closer look. Here's a close-up of our parts. This is the left cylinder bank. Once again, heavy-duty metal here, cast metal. Very nice. Our pulley, generator pulleys, and 4 G-type screws. Next, we'll go ahead and install the other side of our cylinder bank. Just like we did, this is the right side. This would be the left side. And we're going to slide that all in together. Okay. That looks good there. Okay, everything press fits in place there. That looks good. Alright, so we're going to put our cylinder banks on top of the engine here. This is our main engine block. And the key here is don't worry about necessarily where the holes are, because you're going to be mounting them on top here on these 4 points. But when you go to mount this on top, you want to make sure that you're flush on the end here. That way you know you're right. If you go the other way, flip it the other way, you're not flush. See the difference? Okay. So we'll turn this around and make sure we're flush, and we'll put our 4 G-type screws into this. Alright, all 4 screws are installed. I made sure that I used 3-in-1 oil to help it along. I drove them in straight down as much as possible and as tight as possible. Be careful while you're handling the parts you don't put any pressure on some of the plastic parts that are on here. But with that, it looks good. I did discover there's a little bit of metal flash on those metal parts that you could clean out with your X-Acto knife. But that's how that looks. Now we'll install the pulley onto this. And that's going to go on the front of the alternator. I know they call it a generator pulley. And that's going to snap in to the front here. And our next one is going to press fit to that. It's good there. And that's how that looks there. That completes this stage, stage 29. Let's get started on stage 30. Here's the parts for stage 30, which is the racing gearbox clutch. Let's get a closer look at the parts. Here's the racing gearbox and clutch. This is the gearbox itself, made of plastic, and the clutch, same thing, made of plastic. So we need 2 types of screws for this stage. We need the G-type screws, which are these right here. Notice that the threads are a lot finer and closer together. That's for metal parts. And then the I-type screws, the threads are wider, made for plastic. We're going to install the clutch onto the engine, and you can see how the clutch looks there. You want to have this part feed on to where the starter is. Note we have screw portions here. We want those facing outward. So we're just going to line up the holes, just like that. And then we're going to put 2 G-type screws into that. Remember, they're going into metal. And both G-type screws were put in. Make sure you don't over tighten them where you can split the plastic on this clutch case here. Just make sure it's tight, and it is. Looks good. I did use some oil on those G screws. Now we'll install the gearbox onto the clutch, and it's a direct fit, as you can see there. And we're going to use our I-type screws down there, 2 of them. Remember, we're going into plastic here with those. Good. There we go. Now they're snug. That's good. That's how that looks there. And that completes stage 30. Looks great. Let's get started on stage 31. Here's the parts for stage 31. This is called the engine support arms. Let's get a closer look at all the parts. Here's a close-up of those parts. This would be the timing cover, made of plastic. We have our protection panel that has a clear part to it and black. Very cool. Very nice. We have our water pump. We have our pulley. We have our crankshaft, or our belt, our belt crankshaft pulley. And the belt cover and our support arms, left side and right side. We're going to go ahead and mount the engine supports, and they are marked with a left and a right, so you need to determine what side of the engine is what. So this is, the engine sits in the engine compartment. This would be the front, this would be the back where the transmission is, or the gearbox. Okay, so we're going to put our engine mount just like that. So I'm going to press fit in place. And then our other side, very similar. And hey, it is foolproof because we have the round. It was round there and it's square on this side, so I did get it right. There we go. So both the engine mounts, our supports are installed. Just press fit in place. Now our protection panel goes down next, and it looks like it mounts to 2 tabs right here. There we go. There and there. Alright, so they're both in. Little fiddly there, but they did snap in place. And just to show you where they went in at, right there, and on the back side in that corner, it went in. Now we're going to go ahead and put our timing cover on the front. And that's going to press fit in place again. Alright, making sure everything is secure throughout. Looks good. And that completes stage 31. Looks great so far. Very detailed. This engine is very nice. Let's head over and get started on the final stage for this video, stage 32. Let's get started on the final stage for pack 4, and that would be stage 32, the transmission. Here's the parts. Let's get a closer look. Here's a close-up of those parts. Transmission A and B. Very cool, very well detailed, both made of plastic. And then the differential cover itself. And we need 4 I-type screws. We're going to install the first part of the transmission. That's this right here, the larger one. That's going to go on the end of our gearbox, just like that. And 2 I-type screws will hold that down. Both I-type screws are installed. Remember that they went into plastic. That's how that looks there. Next we'll put the other part of the transmission cover on. That's this right here. And it's going to mate up with the shape of the back end of the transmission. You can see how that goes together just like that. And 2 more I-type screws go into that. And there you go. Those screws are tight. The transmission is mounted. Now the last thing we do is we mount the differential cover. That's this right here. Has 2 tabs that line up. It press fits in place. Perfect. They snapped right in. That's what that looks like there. I'll be right back. And there you have it. That completes Pack 4 for the Build the LaFerrari from Agora Models. If you think you'd like to get this for yourself, head over to Agora Models and purchase this kit. They have many options available on how you can purchase this, what best suits your budget. So with that, I had a blast building this. I put a link in the description below. I am now accepting memberships on my channel. So if you'd like to support my channel and get early access to videos and content along with some future giveaways that I'll be having, please join my membership, and there's a button down below for that, I believe. With that, please subscribe and smash that like button, everybody. Until next time with Pack 5, we will see you down the road with this. Take care and happy modeling.